All right, guys, just some clarifications, man. I need to clear some things up. Number one, okay, with this Barney doll thing, I'm not guessing this. It's not something that I think I figured out, like, wow, I found that. No. This was brought to us, okay, guys? Not recently. I just was trying to look into some other things a long time ago. Because remember, guys, I've told you this a bunch of times. Ace Bannister, real name Brian Rogers, and Dan Glidewell, both were there, and David Blanchard. Now, I don't know about David Blanchard having such a big mouth. I think he's probably more tight-lipped. But those other two, when they drink and they do drugs, they have a big mouth and they brag about this shit. They've all got ex-girlfriends and other friends and people and stuff that they've done wrong, okay? And I've told you guys this in videos. A lot of this information we get from people. This was brought to us with the Barney doll. I didn't figure this out. I don't know nothing about that shit. And I'm certainly not tech savvy. Okay, I'm creative and I'm intelligent too, but not like that. I didn't come up with anything like that. Okay, I wouldn't have come up with that. That was brought to us. Okay, guys. I don't know. Listen, and I'm not trying. And I also, my wife pointed this out. She says, "Well, you kind of stressed all those functionalities in your videos and posts and stuff, so you're making it look like they were relying upon, you know." And then these people are coming in my comments and stuff countering that because, well, yeah, she's right. I guess now that I look at it. I was just describing what I read on the AI stuff and all that, all right? All I know is this is all I know, okay? We all must concede that Barney, whether it's got AI, whether it's got Wi-Fi, whether it does whatever, it was talking. It could talk. That's all you need to know. Does it have a speaker that they can send a recording through that was only several seconds to trick a man on the autism spectrum that we know was slow otherwise as well? That's all they had to do. This was to trick him into thinking she was alive so he could complete the binding ritual. That's the only way this bitch could talk him into it. I'm not that kind of girl. I can't be making love to you unless I'm married. So we can take my mother's soul out in a binding ritual together, and then we will be wed together forever in the afterworld, according to God. And he still believes this to this day. Okay? When he found, in fact, there was an interview or something, when he found out that she got married to Ryan, he had beef. He was like, whoa, she can't do that. We did a bind. That's what she did. She fooled him into thinking she did her part of it, and then he just has to come finish her off, and now they're bound. That's a binding ritual. She had been dead 2 hours before he got there. Okay, but that's something else. The Barney doll. All we know is somehow they made a recording that they got of Dee Dee when they were torturing her. The only thing Nick heard was, "Who are you?" and "Gypsy, Gypsy, Gypsy" calling out. That's it. They took that recording. Somehow they played it. I argue, you guys, they say they found it on the other side of Dee Dee's head, and then they moved it there. Remember? And they were even asking questions about that. Remember? They were. All that was, I believe that she just pressed a button, or there was a way that she could do it from afar. That's all I'm saying, guys. I'm not saying that someone came from Wi-Fi and was controlling it from fucking, Cuba. I'm not saying any of that. I'm not trying to say any of that. I may have kind of implied that shit, though. True, I agree with my wife. All I'm saying is all it took was a speaker and some people to be enough to be able to make the sound go through it. That's all that was, you guys. Just to trick them real quick. Go watch after that, did you hear her say anything? Nope. Well, when you was on her back and stabbing her up, there wasn't blood everywhere. I've been doing this murder crimes, and I know. Normally there's blood all over you. Blood, yeah. Nope, no blood. Well, she wasn't screaming or moving out or nothing like that? Nope, didn't move. You guys, it's exactly what I said. And we didn't come up with this shit. You think we could investigate this shit from afar? The police were working for them. They were told, take the onus off of Gypsy and put it on him. Gypsy and Ace Bannister mutilated Dee Dee's genitals as part of the torture ritual. That's what they do, genital mutilation. One of many things, but that's what they dig that. Okay? And that's why they were told, go in there and put that on Nick. That was her main goal. That detective was supposed to go in there and get Nick to admit to even touching her down there. And then they could put the whole thing on him. And they would have sought the death penalty. And they would have showed the jury big close-up autopsy things of her all mutilated down there, which she was. But they had to cover that up, sweep that right under the rug, because he wouldn't cop to it. And that's all they had was that police interview. And they knew if they played that, he's going, no, what, huh? No. Gypsy was wanting me to. Gypsy was prompting me to. Remember? Wasn't she? Wasn't she? Gypsy was wanting him to. I wonder why that was. Just to cover up the genital mutilation. You see? So I'm not claiming that they used all these special functionalities. All I'm saying is it had a speaker. And we all know it had a speaker. If the motherfucker talked, I don't care what, it had a speaker. And if you can't tell me all these dudes that do Vision Con, make costumes, have had different handyman jobs and things throughout their life, can't figure out how to make a less than 20-second recording, have a little pause before it, and come out the speakers of that fucking Barney doll that has speakers? Well, they can, and they did. And that's what they did. Do I know the exact mechanism? No. But that's what they did. And that is the talking dinosaur plush, the Microsoft one, that talks and for sure has a speaker. And the only reason these bitches started that live is wanted you all to believe and have in your head that Dee Dee washed it. You guys, they sat down and wrote a script and made a whole contrived video to try to get ahead of this. Because the pinned video I have over on TikTok is telling you, I found some more information about this Barney. I'm going to talk. And then they did this live. And the whole thing was supposedly Ken approached her with the Barney conspiracy. There wasn't a Barney conspiracy. There is now. Okay? There is now. Why else would they do it? And why else did they use the washing? Why did they say the washing? Because they wanted in your head that Dee Dee just threw it in the washer, knowing it had batteries and knowing it had a speaker and all this shit, that she just threw an electronic toy in the washer like that. Because we're so, well, it wasn't an electronic toy. The car collector must be nuts. That was an electronic toy. There's no way there could be a speaker that could make any noise and make a 15-second recording. Play one. Couldn't possibly do that. It's a toy that you wash. And what they do is they always have plausible deniability. It always comes with plausible deniability. Right? It turns out it was a Minnie Mouse that was in the washer. A plush toy dinosaur Minnie Mouse. I got them confused. Plausible deniability so that fucking fat bitch can rest on. That's what happened that night. Okay? They did a torture ritual of her, which culminated in her throat, which is actually the most humane way to take someone out. I'm not telling you to do that. But of course, Gypsy had putting on a show, nearly sawed her mother's head off. She's a savage beast. Okay? And she took Dee Dee around midnight. That was a Judas sacrifice. The soul leaves with new beginnings around midnight. There was a call at 2:39 a.m. It's 2:39 or 1:39. It always confuses, but I believe it's 2:39. Nick's going to be on the way now. It wasn't 3:33. That's not what that is. 3:33. When they take him at 3:33 in the morning, that's something different. Don't get me started on that. That is something different. This I know what I'm talking about. You can fucking argue with all the rest of the shit and with electronics and shit, whatever. This I know what I'm talking about. It was her mother. That is a Judas sacrifice. And those go at midnight. The soul goes at midnight. Probably knowing what the stickler I hear David Blanchard is, who was running this, who was running the whole ceremony and the ritual and everything, probably exactly right at midnight they probably had her do it. You guys, once you touch a blade to the carotid artery, it's over with. They don't feel anything. You don't even feel that. You guys, you've been cut by a real sharp knife and you don't even know it until a second. You're like, oh shit, there's blood. You have a real sharp knife. That's it. I'm not telling you to go, do it, but that's the most humane way to do it. Once you touch it, it's done. They're gone, out of there. And then they had to get busy draining the blood all over the place. But first they had to bludgeon her in the head to knock her down. Not sure what they bludgeoned her in the head with. I didn't get that. That would probably explain the blood up on the cabinets and the blood up on the ceiling. Messy, messy, messy. Messy, messy, messy. I forget what it's called. It's called something principle. Something principle. And what that principle is every crime scene, every time without fail, the perpetrator always drops something off and takes something with them. They always leave a piece of evidence somewhere, and they always take a piece of evidence from the crime scene with them. Every time. I can't remember what it's called. Something principle. But anyway, this is what happened. This man was tricked into doing this, so he could take the whole rap for everything. But guys, this was actually just the backup plan. And it's a good goddamn thing they did it. They knew that they better do it with her because she didn't have the nuts. And they were right. They were right. She was supposed to take Nick. This was just backup plan. This was backup plan. They tricked him into thinking that, but they also needed a knife with those with his fingerprints on it, right? They needed all that because Gypsy was supposed to use her feminine wiles and use all this crazy sexual shit into her fucking Anesthesia. What was her last name? Anesthesia Steele or whatever that bitch's name was in that movie. That freak shit, right? And she was